Welcome back to Gabber Spotlight, where we highlight the incredible stories of students creating meaningful change. And today, we have an inspiring young innovator with us, Sid Battula, a junior at John Paul II High School and a passionate problem solver. Sid has been working on a life-saving project that addresses the opioid overdose crisis. Sid, it's great to have you here. To kick things off, kindly introduce yourself and tell us what you're passionate about.
Hello, my name is Sid Battula, and I go to John Paul II High School as a junior. I want to major in computer science and engineering, and I'm mainly passionate about fighting overdose amongst teens such as myself. And my contribution to this is fighting overdose using the Narcan project.
Yeah, so fighting overdose is a definitely an incredible project, Sid. I think that's how I've introduced you, and that's how people by now probably have an impression on what you're doing. And you did mention that you do it through the Narcan project, but can you tell us more about this Narcan project that you've been working on? Why is it important? Why do you think is it impactful?
So I was able to partner with the Carrollton Police Department, and the CPD requires officers to carry Narcan in their vehicles. But Narcan is an emergency nasally administered medicine used to treat victims during drug overdose. The packaging itself does not fully protect the dispenser, which can lead to damage, making the medicine invaluable and it won't work. Um, but also, if the medicine was in their vehicle, they wouldn't be able to save someone in a situation where they need to be there right away. So I collaborated with several officers and created a custom, ergonomically comfortable 3D printed case. This case allows officers to carry this medicine in their uniform, provides ease of access, and ensures the medicine functions properly when required, and prevents the damage with an officer's move.
All right. Okay. So that totally makes sense. Now, for those who might not be familiar, for those of you who might be watching this right now and are not familiar, can you kind of give us a background or can you explain what Narcan is and why is it so critical in emergency medical situations?
Narcan or naloxone is a life-saving medication designed to reverse the effects of opioid overdose. When
Mm.
someone experiences a potentially fatal overdose from drugs like heroin or prescription painkillers, Narcan can bring them back from the brink of death by essentially just pumping them with adrenaline. This works by quickly blocking the opioid receptors in the brain and temporarily reverses the overdose. Overdose is fatally the fatal issues of the overdose itself, such as respiratory depression. The fact that it can be administered nasally makes it so quick and accessible for first responders. It's not an injection, and there doesn't have to be a process. It's just a nasal administration, and it's much easier for officers and many people alike.
All right. So since you're doing this and kind of like reinventing it that way, can you tell us? I think you also mentioned this earlier that there were actually challenges with the current existing Narcan packaging, right? So what specific problem did you identify that led you to this?
I discovered a critical weakness in the standard Narcan packaging. It doesn't adequately protect the dispenser. This means that the medicine could be damaged before it's needed most, which makes it ineffective during a life or death moment. Imagine an officer rushing to save someone's life only to find like the Narcan isn't able to be used and they're going through an overdose and there's no way to help them. And that's exactly the scenario my solution prevents by keeping this case on the officer's person as well as protecting it from further damage.
That's indeed a critical issue, and I'm glad you spotted it, right? So the problem now is how, or my question now is that how did you go about solving this packaging problem?
Through a detailed design process and multiple iterations, I was able to create a custom 3D printed case that not only protects the actual Narcan medication, but is ergonomically comfortable. So an officer is able to keep it on their person in a safe way and an easy way to actually administer the medication. This case allows officers to carry the Narcan directly in their uniform and ensures that it remains undamaged and immediately accessible. It is a perfect blend of practical design and life-saving functionality.
Wow, that's indeed a revolutionary idea. So can you walk us through the design and features of this 3D printed case?
The Narcan case essentially is a bevel box pressure fit on the sides of the actual medication itself. It's essentially a low profile case with two rounded semicircle sides on it. So it's able to be like quickly removed out of a pocket. There is also a notch designed for belts, like belts, buckles, and belt sides. So the officer is able to keep it on their actual like pant portion. There is a notch designed into the case in such that the medication is easy to access. So it's like this, it's easy to take out the medicine and it's simple to use. No need to like teach anybody how to use it.
Thank you for that. But I'm wondering, Sid, do you have, because I really want to imagine it in my head, and I think people also who are watching right now kind of want to see it or at least have a vision of it. So do you happen to have some picture there, Sid, that you feel like you can share? Okay. Can we
Yes, I
invite you
can
to
for
share?
sure share it. I
Okay.
can for sure share an image with you.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. So essentially, this is the nasal spray itself. This is how the Narcan medicine looks in
Mhm.
naloxone. You can already see how weathered and damaged the actual product packaging is, which goes to show like just normal wear and tear just in an officer's vehicle already looks like this, and it
Mhm.
causes major issues with the actual Narcan medicine. This is the case I designed. And this is the final iteration of it without the belt buckle loop. The belt buckle loop comes on later, and it's very simple. It's just a slight notch. But as you can see, these are the semicircle corners, and everything is beveled and safe for officers to handle. The actual notch I was talking about holds like this. So the medicine itself can be taken out like with your thumb and index finger, and it makes it really easy for an officer to actually take out the medication. In case the notch doesn't work for them, there's also a little bit of an overhang for the actual medication, so they can take it out that way. Overall, the actual like the way the medicine is fit in is through a pressure fit containment, which it means that these little notches over here are pressure fit exactly so the actual case can fit inside of it and not slide out without an officer actually pulling it. Um, Overall, this case had multiple iterations, and this was the final one, which maintained the ergonomically comfortable usage and also was able to hold the packaging properly without bending or fraying it.
That's such a brilliant idea, Sid. And wow, I can't believe that a high school student can really, you know, innovate things like this way. So really proud of you for
Thank
doing that. Now, you're partnering with the Carrollton Police Department, right? So for
Yes.
me, it sounds like a very pivotal step. It's a very important step, right? Why do you think working with the local police is also very important for overdose prevention?
When someone calls 911, the first people on the actual line are police officers. They're often the first people on the scene during medical emergencies, even though it's not their first job. Their first job is to serve and protect, and medical emergencies sometimes falls under this. By equipping them with properly protected Narcan and training, we're creating a safe space and a network of potential lifesavers across the community. This approach allows us to transform law enforcement from a just a justice-based role to healthcare providers, bridging the gaps between like emergency police response and emergency medical response. And it allows more lives to be saved in a situation where officers are there first. So partnering with the Carrollton Police Department helps grow this goal into saving more lives.
Definitely, I agree. Now I'm also curious. So, what have you learned from this project? Like, I know this is a bit technical, like this whole project of yours is a bit technical, but yeah, what have you learned technically? But what also have you learned like personally from this experience?
So first I'll answer technically. I learned like the power of actually like thinking in the design mindset and actually like working on my problem solving skills. In
For
school,
sure.
they teach like how to answer word problems, but not much of it is hands-on and practical. I was able to use my like school teaching and my abilities in robotics to actually put forth my design and my testing skills to something real world. By observing the limitations of the Narcan packaging, I was able to use this technology to make a solution, a functional solution. And I developed these skills in ergonomic design, as I stated before, and allowed us to further the growth of human lives and protect teenagers such as myself, and really thought about how to further my problem solving application. Personally, this project taught me the importance of a proactive community. Community can be as reactive as they want, but by not being proactive and by not allowing for practical solutions for problems that may not happen just yet, we were able to bridge this gap between like medical response and officer response. And I realized that innovative solutions can emerge from just looking at something and addressing that challenge. This experience reinforced my passion for using technology and making a real difference in someone's life. And especially the major issue of the opioid endemic and like the serious issue of teen overdose, I was able to really understand the positive implications of what I'm doing.
Wow, proactive community. That's so beautiful, Sid. That's amazing. And so now I'm curious, and I think everyone's also curious, what's next for you and your passion for fighting the opioid epidemic?
Moving forward, I would just want to plan to continue to raise awareness about the opioid overdose prevention, particularly among people in my age group, because that's the age group that I see the most, and it's
Mhm.
the best way for me to reach my approach by building teenagers up to actually talking about these subjects, I'm able to grow the future generations. Instead of focusing on adults nowadays, I'm able to focus on the people that will grow into adults. And these people are going to be changing the world every single day. Develop, and I would love to develop a better protective case and further iterate on this design that can be replicated for other officers in other communities and also be used in schools by security officers and security personnel by allowing those security personnel to actually protect and serve their school in ways where not many people are talking about. Not many administrators and parents really know about the major impact of this opioid endemic. And by offering a solution to this before anything happens, I am able to prevent and protect my fellow students and the future generations of my community. I would also love to give more presentations like this to schools and community centers about overdose prevention to allow for more people to be saved. And then I'd also want to collaborate with more emergency services, such as like the ERs and further communities and further services to allow for this life-saving medication to be spread everywhere. My ultimate goal is just to leverage this passion that I have for engineering to solve as many solutions as possible. And
That is truly inspiring, Sid, and I believe it really does have the potential to make a huge impact. And you know what impresses me the most is as early as now, as young as you are making this level of impact. So I couldn't just imagine how much more if the moment you get into college, the moment you get even funding, right? Or even the moment you graduate, even. So the kind of impact that you would have to society, especially for this specific cause, fighting opioid epidemic. So yeah, thank you so much, Sid, for sharing your story and for this incredible work that you are doing. And that's it for today's Gabber Spotlight. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Sid. Stay tuned for more stories of students making a difference. Until next time, take care. Thank you, Sid. Thank you, everyone.
thank you. See you.